verses 14 through 31. I get my eyes to focus will work. For by one Spirit we are all baptized into one body, whether Jews or Greeks, whether slaves or free, and we were all made to drink of the Spirit. For the body is not one part, but many. What do you actually think he's talking about a body there? Or is that used as a comparison to be noted with something else? Metaphor. There you go. Paul addressed the problems at Corinth over spiritual gifts. It seems that some claim certain gifts, like speaking in tongues, that were important. The other gifts are thereby were elevated himself above others. Paul illustrated how foolish was their thinking by using the analogy of the human body. Our bodies have many different members, but all function together as one. That has a very, very important phrase in it right there. The body has many parts, but it all functions as one. Now, can you change that around to where you can say the church, Christ's body, has many parts, and we're all one? We're all one. So, my eyes are still watering. If the foot says, "Because I am not a hand and I am not a part of the body," it is not for this reason any less a part of the body. For if the ear says, "Because I am not an eye, I am not a part of the body," it is not for this reason any less a part of the body. Okay, let's put that in terms of today. If one of us says we cannot preach, does that mean we're not a part of God's body, of Christ's body? It means that no matter what talent you have, it takes each and every one of us working together to make one. It's kind of like an analogy of the Trinity. You know, somebody said, "Well, there's no way that three can be one." And I think Ruth Ann told me that a student told her, said, "Well, okay, you take an egg, you got a shell, you got the white part, and you got the yolk. How many does that make? 3. It takes 3 to make one egg. So there's not a part or not a person that's in the congregation that's a member of the church that's not important. You know, you may not be able to teach, you may not be able to preach, but you may be able to do something else. Yeah, there's always a way to do something. All right, I get on my soap. Go ahead. Yeah, you're more than just one part. But if you wasn't a father, you wasn't a person, wasn't an elder, what part would it play? So you still have to have all 3 of those parts. If the whole body were an eye, where would the hearing be? If the whole body were hearing, where would the sense of smell be? But now God has arranged the parts, each one of them, in the body just as he desired. If they were all one part, where would the body be? If they were all one part, the body would be complete, right? In other words, if we all work together, we complete the body. One can't be separate from the other, one can't. It's all got to be one goal. Everyone is needed, everyone is important, no matter what you can do and what you can't do. There's always something. If you look at an autistic child, there is always one thing that child can do that is better than any, you know, it's better than any. So one does make a difference. All right. But now there are many parts of one body, and the eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, or again to the head, to the feet, I have no need of you. On the contrary, it is much more truer that the parts of the body which seem to be weaker are necessary. Right there, he's telling us that the person or the parts of this body that seems to be weak is no less important than the solid parts. The importance is working together and bringing that weak person up. And then we need to work together and bring people to Christ. We need to evangelize and everything to make the body stronger. And those parts of the body which we consider less honorable, on these we bestow greater honor, and our less presentable parts become more presentable. Give me what's he saying there? Okay, a lot going on behind the scenes.
A lot of things being happening, people do that you don't know about, that don't want to be glorified, that don't want to be presented outward. But they still have to be there to function for everything to work.
Yeah.
There are some members of the church that need more attention than others.
There's
The presentable parts have no need of what the rest of the parts have.
that's true. The weaker parts need to be made stronger, and stronger parts need to be weaker. But everything you do, or this is my feeling, everything that I do for the church don't have to be known that I did it. I don't have to, I don't have to stand up and say, hey, I done this, look at this, I done that, and it don't have to be done. As long as people, as you know that you're working and everybody knows you're working around you, then that's enough. I know people that donated stuff, donated things here, don't want to be told, don't want it to be known. So that's some people. They do their job and don't expect glory out of it except from Christ. So that there are many, so that there may be no divisions in the body, but that the parts may have the same care for one another. What's the care for one another? What's he saying there? Cordell?
Means you involved in their life, you care for them. When they hurt, you hurt.
Yeah.
When they rejoice, you rejoice.
Yes. You care for them, and when they hurt you hurt, and they win, you rejoice in what they have done. And if one part of the body suffers, all parts suffer with it. If a part is honored, then all parts rejoice with it. Same thing Cordell just said. That, if one person's hurting, then we're all hurting. One person is rejoicing, then we all rejoice. How much more rejoicable is it when somebody comes forward and confesses and comes back? Is that not one of the most joyful times? Or somebody comes forward and wants to be baptized into Christ? Is that not a joyful time? It is. All are not apostles, and they are all not prophets, are they? All are not teachers, are they? All are not workers of miracles, are they? He's telling us right there that all of us are not going to be able to do everything, that we're going to be good at one thing. I mean, you know, if I ever figure out what I'm good at, then I'll know. Because to me, I'm a halfway teacher, and so, but you got to try. So that's a big part of it. All do not have the gifts of healing, do they? And all do not speak with tongues, do they? All do not interpret, do they? Okay, now, that statement, there's a lot of controversy. Speaking in tongues. What is meant by speaking in tongues? What does he mean when he's speaking in tongues? Speaking in a foreign language. And then he says, all do not interpretate. So if you're speaking in a foreign language and you come in here speaking French, then you're going to have somebody there that's going to be able to tell you what's being said. A lot of some of the churches I went to before, years and years ago, believed in speaking in tongues. And the preacher would get up there and start preaching, and a third of the way through the sermon, you couldn't understand a thing he said. And then somebody would jump up and start shouting. And it's bad to say, and I probably shouldn't, but when I was a teenager, a bunch of us boys would be in the back, and we'd always sit there and figure out, how to catch the baby when the woman jumped up and threw it up in the air. We was going to figure out what to do if that happened. But, you see all kinds of things. I had friends that their father was a snake handling preacher. His son didn't go to church with him, and I sure wasn't going either. So you consider that there is, when they're saying tongues and they're saying interpreters, it's not saying something that you can't understand or that somebody can't understand. And if you heard a lot of speaking of preachers and people speaking in tongues, you'd understand. You can't understand nothing they say, and ain't nobody can interpret it. So we need to, when we look at the Bible, we need to use some common sense. Christ is not going to tell us something that's not part of his body. It's not building up his body, or that he don't command us to do. Is he, Cordell?
I've seen a lot of tongue speaking, not present, but I've seen a lot of them.
Yeah.
And there never has been one interpreter. And the scripture says, if there is no interpreter.
Yeah. So we understand what this is. When we understand what he's talking about. And we understand in these verses what he's saying. We understand that he's telling us that we all have to work as one body. That not one part is weaker than the other. It's all, takes everything to put it together. You have to, each and every one of us has to work to improve everything. Improve the church, improve our will to love Christ, and all that. So as we think about that, let us think, what can we do? And jump in and do it. Come and say, hey, I want to do this. Come on. If I speak with the tongues of mankind and of the angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. What's he saying there? I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal.
Worthless.
Do what?
Worthless.
Yeah.
Making a sound that doesn't give any lesson or any purpose. If we don't have love.
Yeah, it has no meaning. It has no meaning if we're doing that. If I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I have nothing. Just like Donnie said, if we don't have love for one another, we have nothing. Pure and simple. I mean, he's laying it out to where anybody can understand it. And if I give away all my possessions to charity, and if I surrender my body so that I may glory, but do not have love, does it mean it does me no good? Anybody? Kent?
It's what it said. It does you no good. It's worthless. I mean, you can have all these different things, you know, but all you're doing is bringing pride and arrogance to yourself. The reason these people in these congregations want to speak tongues is because they want the other people to think that the Spirit of God is within them and they're showing it through them. That's when the individual is doing that. Look at me. God's speaking through him. Makes him look good. And it's worthless. It's pointless. And it's an abomination, in my opinion. I've been in those Baptist churches and I thought like the third guy through the door because, you know, these people start doing that stuff, they go crazy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I mean, they get up and you're like, what is going on? Because, oh, it's the Spirit, it's the Spirit. Oh, that's the wrong spirit, if you ask me.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we always, in the back, we always figured out where we was gonna go to catch a baby when they jumped up.
Yeah, I mean,
But, you know, we don't puff ourselves up. We don't let pride get the best of us. We all work together, we love to each other one together, and we are not arrogant about it. We don't run around and say, look at me, you know, I done this, I done that. It don't happen. If you're part of the Lord's body, then we done this, we done that. There's no I's in it. It's something that, you know, a lot of times we don't understand. People don't understand that there's no I in being a part of the congregation. It's all we, you know. We got Donnie preaches, Cordell preaches, Kent is over education, you know, and all these people work together. You know, we all work together. We even, I want to say this about Mike, even Harry does what he can. I mean, he stays at the door, he watches the door, and that's what he does best. But now I promise you, if you say, hey, Harry, I'm moving tomorrow, you better watch out because he'll be knocking on your door. That's just the way he is. And he's part of the Lord's body. And if one part needs help, then he's ready to jump in. That's the way we all should be. Shouldn't be standoffish. You know, not willing to help one another. And I know I'm getting on a sermon trail, so somebody smack me and tell me to hush. Yes, sir. You can't smack from that far. Oh, okay. Love is patient, love is kind. It is not jealous, love does not brag. It is not arrogant. It does not act disgracefully. It does not seek its own benefit. It is not provoked, does not keep an account of wrong suffering. I think he just said what we was talking about. We don't puff up, we don't provoke people, we don't keep an account if somebody has done something wrong and they come forward and confess and ask for forgiveness. That's not wrote down somewhere, and that don't come back in the future. You know, when you come up forward and you confess your sins, then Christ has forgiven you, and we need to forgive you. It does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. So, somebody tell me what he's saying there.
Same thing he's been saying. I don't know why the world doesn't realize that God has given us logic, reasoning, the ability to think and to discern different things. His gospel is practical, reasonable, it makes sense. It's like the body makes sense. Everything does its part to make the body function as one. Same thing. It's all he's talking about. But it has to be done with the right perspective, the right attitude towards other people. That's the point he's trying to make.
Yeah. You don't hold, if somebody, you know, Donnie's a preacher, if somebody holds it against him because he can preach and they can't, that's wrong. They should be love and say, hey, man, great. They should be proud that he's able to do it and support him. You know, we need to support each other. We don't need to cut each other down. We need to be part. We need to be one. And if it's your body and you get cut somewhere, one part hurts for the rest of the parts. What do you think about it? It keeps every confidence. It believes all things, hope all things, endures all things. We hope that we bring more into Christ. We hope that this gets done. We hope that gets done. We hope for a lot of stuff, and when things don't happen as we think, we endure through it. We don't. I've seen people say, "Well, I don't like what this one's doing. I'm not coming back." I've actually had a person tell me that somebody in the auditorium during service drinking coffee just made them so mad they just couldn't stand it, could not understand it. And I thought, well, you're not the one drinking it. It's not going into your body. It's not being spilled on you. So why are you complaining about somebody doing something like that? It don't make sense. I've seen a lot of things go on over my 35 or 60 years that don't make sense. It don't bring up the church. I mean, you can look back at this congregation. We've had problems 2 or 3 times just because one person got aggravated and started rumors. We can start. Yeah, I mean, you take, and there should be no person like that can do that, because we're all one. Yeah. Yeah, people want to hold things against you. And that's wrong. If somebody asks you for forgiveness, you should forgive them. And go on. Don't hold a grudge. It took me a long time to figure out, not to hold grudges. It was years, because working around the mines and stuff like that, you always had somebody that, you just wanted to pick up and wring their necks. But then you have to realize you have to forgive and you have to forget and go on, and somebody like that, you kill them with kindness. That's how you kill them. Yeah. Yeah, everybody, there wasn't but one person ever on this earth that is ever perfect. So do not think you are. I mean, some people, do their best and trying to live the life that we should live. And some people come, sit in the pew at 10:30, 11:30, they're ready to go out the door. You know, like I said the other day, I've seen people stand at the back doors and they'd be going like this when the preacher was 5, 10 minutes over. You know, it's just, what would Paul done then? At 10:30, did Paul quit? I think at 10:30, Paul was just getting cranked up when he was doing his lessons. I don't know why I'm on this path. Love, it never fails, but if there are gifts of prophecy, they will be done away with. If there are tongues, they will cease. If they are knowledge, it will be done away with. What's he telling us there? Tongues will cease. Prophecy will no more. If there is knowledge, it will be done away with. That's one that throws me, if there is knowledge.
He talks about the supernatural.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you don't read it and understand what he's really talking about, then you're thinking about, well, whatever knowledge I have is going to be thrown away, going to be done away with. That's not what he's saying. But he is saying that there's no tongues, there's no prophecy. You know, you don't, people don't get up and prophesy and all that. It just don't happen no more. At one time, yeah. But when Christ come to this earth and when he was hung upon the cross and he died, then a new covenant come into effect and a new life for Christians come into effect. The life of having to do sacrifices with animals. I think, wasn't we talking the other day about what would happen if we had to do sacrifices with animals, where we'd find them? Now, you know, people don't have animals like that no more. Of course, I've seen a lot of deer sacrificed on the highway, but for we know in part and prophecy in part, but when perfect comes, the partial will be done away with. Who's the perfect? Who's he saying when perfect comes? Christ. When Christ comes, the rest of it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's one thing. But the way I read that was that it was when Christ died upon the cross and the new covenant come into effect. Of course, yes, you're probably more on the point than I am.
There were sacrifices, not sacrifices, but miracles performed after Christ went back to heaven. Because there was a need for it.
Yeah, but there's no need now. He gave us the Bible back. I think in that time there really wasn't no Bible, no printed Bible. And when the apostles and everybody would go preach and teach His word, at that time they had to show some kind of miracle or something to get people to pay attention. You know, so I think that's a big part of it. When I was a child, I used to speak like a child, think like a child, reason like a child. But when I become a man, I did away with childish things. He's saying, grow up and get with it. Grow up and do away with your childish things.
You stop at 5 o'clock.
that childish things go away. I know you got something to say, Kent, because I can see you looking over.
Yeah, well, same thing in metaphors. Christianity's a process. He uses it when I was a child, I spoke as a child, but I grew up. Same thing applies to Christianity. It's something that you don't just do one time. It's something that you continuously grow with. It's something you continuously learn. And get better, bigger. And that's the whole point, is it's a process, you know, and, you know, and it continues, you know, jumping on that sort of speak, because, you know, all this time you're still waiting. You ain't even growing. You're still sucking on milk. You know, you need to get solid food. I mean, this is ridiculous. You
Yeah.
know, because you're supposed to be growing. You know, look at the child. The child's not going to be little forever. They grow, and it's automatic. Christianity should be the same way. It should be growing.
Well, you know, I've always heard that the older a child gets, the more it costs you. Well, if the more that you believe in Christ, the more you do away with your old sinful life. So, could be a metaphor there, I don't know. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face now I know in part. But then I will know fully, just as I also have been fully known. All right, somebody, give me a what he's talking about.
Tell you what I think. I think when he said, when I was a child, that speaks to the time when we were doing things in part. That was speaking in tongues and prophecies, all in part, not the whole. But when the perfect came, it was like a child being a man growing up. I mean, the childish things here are the part that he's talking about in the context, prophecies, speaking in tongues, so forth. He said, for now we see in the mirror again. In other words, we're seeing in part, knowing in part, and we can't see everything looking in the mirror of God's Word. But then if God's Word is complete, that mirror will be perfect. And we'll know.
Okay. But now faith, hope, and love remain these three, but the greatest of these is love. Faith, hope, and love. Isn't that great? Shouldn't we all have love for one another? Shouldn't we all care for one another? If, just like he's talking about parts of the body. If one part's hurting, then all of it. If one member's hurting, all of us are hurting. That's kind of why I chose this subject. He's telling us there that through all things, Christ loves you. And through all things, you're not going to be, everyone's not going to be a preacher. Everybody's not going to be a deacon. Everybody's not going to be an elder. Some people are workers. And every congregation needs more little Indians than they do chiefs, because there's always a lot of work to do. And he's telling us that the greatest thing that we can do is love one another and care for one another, watch out for each other. We don't always look out for each other, think about each other. I think sometimes you may go away and say, well, that's a stupid thing he done. You know, so instead of saying that to somebody else, why don't you go up to that person and say, you know, you might have done this a little bit different or something. We need to show love and compassion. We need to, and I'm about to get off my soapbox. We need to work together. We need to understand what we need to do and do it as one body. One part is not greater than the other. Donnie.
A lot of times, I might do something, do it a certain way, and you might do something, do it a certain way, or they'll do it
Yeah. It's all leading to the same point. You know, I tell a lot of people that, well, I do it like this. Well, okay, but the way I do it works for me. I train somebody on tank, I look at them, I said, you watch me, you watch the other drivers, you take what parts works for you, and you use it. And that's the way the church should be. We all work together, and each part helps the other part. You know, if the feet didn't help the legs, then the legs would be no use. If the hands didn't help the arms, then the arms would be no use. And as in my case, if the brain didn't help the body, then the brain ain't no use. But I appreciate it. We've got one more week, y'all have got one more week to put up with me. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate all the commentary, all the comebacks. I'm not the greatest teacher in the world, but at least I'm going to try. So we're going to quit about 5 minutes early, and everybody gets to say something. Don't act like it. I could say one more. Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing, and it's, I don't, Steve may get mad at me saying it. Because we need to function like a complete body, not like a handicap. Steve can tell you what it's like to tell your legs to move and it don't move.
Yeah.
He can tell you what it's like to tell your arms to do something and it don't do it. But that's a lot of times what the church is. We know what we're supposed to do, but we don't do it. And that's a handicapped church, if you want to call it that. It's a bad metaphor when I got a man in the wheelchair in the audience. But it's a reality. And the reality is that we all have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to, as you said, grow up, do your part, be involved in working of the church, and share the gospel. So eternity's coming.
Yep.
We gotta be ready for it. That's all I gotta say.
Heaven's going to be great, and hell's going to be hot. So make your choice. And there ain't no ice cubes in hell, as far as I know. Might be some fireballs, but no ice cubes. I appreciate everybody. I thank everybody. And I appreciate not getting tomatoes thrown at me or anything like that. Unless you're ripe now. I like a good ripe tomato. Now watch out now. But I appreciate each and every one of you. And if at any time ever I can do something to help, please let me know.